Didn't the other kids tell you not to come here? Go back before it's too late!
At the heart of horror, there has always been more than spooks and scares.
Sometimes, it's not what you see, but what you hear.
Welcome to Sound Scary.
Each week, we talk to the artists, the musicians, the fans, the people who haunt the shadowy corners of your mind.
Join us as we delve into the deepest,
Darkest.
and most unforgettable earscapes. Welcome to Sound Scary.
Welcome to another episode of Sound Scary Quarantine Edition. I'm your host, Ryan Cultrera.
And I am James Oster, JimmyO. And, I feel like I feel like I say this every time we have an episode, we just have the best guest, and we really just do. And today I'm really happy. I'm really excited about this one because we have an amazing talent who's done amazing work. Tusk, Delirium, Yoga Hosers, which I watched last night. The lovely, talented, amazing, and the new Centigrade, Genesis Rodriguez, is here with us today. Jenny, how are you?
Good. I'm good. I'm so happy to be on your show, Jimmy.
We're happy to have you. And I've wanted to bring you on for a long time because, we've known each other for a couple of years now. And I just felt like, you know what? Now's the perfect time. We got to talk, with the new show on Quibi, The Fugitive, which you were awesome in, and then we got to talk about Centigrade, and welcome to Sound Scary.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited.
We started the show because we like the idea of talking horror, we like the idea of talking music, kind of not the typical traditional show, and you haven't really done the typical horror movie route. You've kind of done a unique. You with Tusk, you had a very unique film with one of our guests, Kevin Smith. Mm-hmm. What was that experience like? And what did Kevin tell you? What was it? What was the first thing he said? Yeah, this is about Walrus, and you're going to be. Yeah. How did this happen?
How did this happen? I get a call from this friend that I know, and she's really good friends with the producer of Tusk, and her name is Shannon McIntosh. She's like, hey, my friend Shannon is doing this movie, Tusk, with Kevin Smith, and it's this really wacky script. I threw your name out. I'm going to send you this script. I hear maybe Johnny Depp might be in it. I think it's crazy, and I think it would be really good for you, and I think you should read it. So I read it at 10 p.m., and then I started blasting the song Tusk while I was reading it, and I was like, oh, holy shit, this is a really good fucking movie. So weird. And I was like, I think I wrote an email at 1 a.m. because I couldn't stop thinking about it. I was like so excited. I was like, oh, and I played the Beatles song. And so I was like chewing at night, and I was like, this is gonna be the best movie. And I wrote an email saying, I don't know what I gotta do, but please, I need to be in this fucking movie. And that was my email. And so my managers just sent that email to Kevin Smith, and they were like, he read that email, and he was like, cool, yeah, let's do it. And I had never gotten a job that way, guys. Like, I've had to fight my ass off for every freaking movie I've done. So it was like the most exciting thing, because I got a job that was an offer, and now we're back to square one where I have to fight for jobs. But that one in particular to get was like dream come true. And when I went on to set, I remember the first day I showed up in a walrus onesie, and Kevin was like, "That's the girl we hired." And I'm like, "I'm really excited to be here, guys." And he was like,
Very nice.
cool, man. We'll see you tomorrow, because it wasn't even like my turn to go to set. I just showed up, to support. And I showed up, and I think one of the first scenes I did was with Ralph Garman, and Kevin saw that I started to get emotional talking about Wallace, which is Justin Long's character. And he had like this little light bulb thing happen. He was like, "I think this girl can act." So I had a good first day at work, nothing too big. And then I wake up the next day, and at 8 a.m. I have an email from Kevin. He's like, "Hey man, so I stayed up all night and I just wrote these pages. See what you think. If you want to do them, you can do them. And if you don't, we don't got to do them. It doesn't have to stay in the movie." And I was like, "Okay." So I looked at the pages. It was 14 pages. And it was the scene with Wallace where we're talking in bed, and then a monologue. The monologue in the movie.
The monologue.
So I was like, "Holy shit, I got a monologue to the camera? Like, what the hell is going on?" Like, okay. So like my hair stand up just thinking about that moment, because I had never gotten that chance with anyone before. And the fact that he got inspired by one little moment I had done the day before, like he really wrote for me. And the words that he wrote, I was like, "I hope I do this man justice." He's like, "Look, man, and just like that, "Look, man, if it's not good, it's not gonna stay in the movie." And that the rest was history.
I rewatched Tusk before we were going to interview Kevin, and you saw this because I posted on Instagram. I was like, "Oh my god, this moment it's a great fucking scene."
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it really is. It's a great performance, and I think a lot of people saw that and were like, "Oh shit, she ain't playing."
No, he was because I've never acted to the camera before, and it's like weird because I'm like, am I cross-eyed right now? Where am I looking at? Like, I don't even know where to look at, guys. And Kevin's just like, "Look straight down the barrel, look straight down the barrel." I'm like, this is so weird. So we did one, and he was like, "Dude, holy shit, that was great. Let's get another one, but let's make it a little shorter." That's all my notes. I got no notes. Just go. So it was the last shot of the day, and I saw every crew member, and I remember Haley too, because like we had no idea this was gonna be a part of the movie. Haley was like, "Holy fuck, man, okay, this is the movie we're doing now," because it had nothing to do with this crazy walrus movie, and then it just made everything very serious and grounded. So I'm glad he did it, because it just elevated the horror. I think in horror movies you have to be so committed and so grounded in order to sell this world. There's no other way.
That's what I love about your performance in this movie, is how like grounded and serious and effective it is in this insane movie. Like, you don't go schlock, you don't go B-movie, you take it seriously, and that's so much more effective.
Yeah, and with the human walrus, I mean...
What was your reaction when you first saw that?
Oh, I jumped 7 feet high. I was scared out of my freaking mind. I've never seen something so disturbing. And in person, you could see like the human skin texture and the ears. Like, he had ears on his hands, and like 7, like his flippers were like,
oh man,
different fingers and different hands.
Oh,
It was so messed up. I could not eat that day. And Justin was like horrified, because he was like in this like spandex black kind of a leotard thing, and then he was just the head. Just walking around with the head. Oh my god, poor guy.
That's wild.
My favorite time ever on a set, other than Casa de mi Padre, was definitely Tusk. Tusk for me was like, we were all taking a risk. I mean, from Justin to Kevin to Haley to myself to Johnny to everybody. We were just taking a risk on this weird ass movie, and hopefully, you know, people would enjoy it. But my favorite part was getting to know Michael Parks. Michael Parks. Oh my gosh, still love of my life. I miss him dearly. He was very tough. Like, he was the first couple days just kind of impossible to impress. Very stern and very, like, you know, kind of a meanie. He was like a grouch. And I was like, I'm gonna win this man over. I don't know how. I'm going to. And so I invited him for dinner, and we would talk, and he's like, God, you love the sound of your own voice. And I was like, you love the sound of my voice, man. I got him to chuckle, and that was it. Like, we ate breakfast every day, then we had dinner every night, and like, I didn't want to leave him by the end of the shoot. He was the most incredible person.
Oh yeah, he's a legend.
Yeah.
Kevin had a lot of great stories to talk about him. It just sounds, it's weird to see that kind of talent and that kind of commitment, you know, and that must be kind of thrilling to work with, that kind of character actor, you know, someone with that
depth.
Oh.
Like, I remember my favorite day. There was a scene where Johnny goes to meet Michael Parks' character. And Haley and I were not working that day, but we're like, dude, are you showing up to work? Because we got to see what happens here. And he's like, yeah. I'm there. I'll meet you in 10. So we go and we sit down at the monitors and we have our ear cans and we're looking at the script as we're watching the scene because we want to know the choices. We want to see what Michael does. And plus we hadn't seen Johnny do his thing yet. It was like our first day seeing Johnny. So Johnny was like, he was doing this kind of cross-eyed thing and he was doing his Quebec accent and we were like, oh shit, this is awesome. This is freaking awesome. Like, he's doing a whole new thing here. And then all of a sudden Michael Parks starts talking and it wasn't written as being like deaf or slow or I don't know what I don't know. I think he did it as deaf. Yeah, he did it as deaf. And it wasn't written that way. And I was like, did Michael Parks just do this? Did he do this? Was this written like this? And we were like, no, it can't be. Kevin, did you tell him to do that? We were just like, Kevin, did you tell him? No, man, that's just Michael. Leave it to Michael to be able to steal the scene from Johnny Depp right then and there. It was just, I was just like, that is an acting class right there. What I just saw, I can't even describe that. That day was awesome.
Well, you know, it's weird because I grew up watching Kevin Smith's movies, and I grew up, you know, obviously with Clerks, Chasing Amy, Dogma, all these amazing films.
Yeah.
I remember when I interviewed him when we started talking about, he was like, oh, did you ever see, oh gosh, what was it? Race with the Devil, this old movie. And he's like, that's the kind of horror movie I want to make. And it was before Red State.
No way.
It just got me so excited for him to do horror. And of course, I should have known he would, if he's going to do horror, he's going to do his horror, which is not like anything else we've ever seen.
It is so unique to him. And I love that because I feel like when you have a point of view in horror and you don't follow like a certain type of horror, I think that's what makes it so refreshing to watch. And I mean, you get different scripts with different horror scripts that start reading the same. You're expecting the same sometimes. And it's because of it has grown into a style. But when people stay firm to their point of views and their whole little world, there's nothing better. There's nothing better than to be sucked into their spooky little world.
Great.
So I've recently been reading about the proposed sequel to Tusk and how Kevin Smith was saying Wallace would actually become the villain in part 2. Where would you like to see your character go in this proposed Tusk 2?
I would love it to be like the Richard Dreyfuss character in Jaws.
Nice.
That's what I would like to go. Like somebody who has fallen down the deep end of extinct animals and like are like a mad scientisty kind of a person, with this traumatic experience of human animal thing. That would be my dream.
Sounds great.
Kevin,
Oh man.
Well, maybe Moose Jaws will, when he actually finally makes that's the type of, you know?
That would be dreamy.
That would be so cool.
I feel like that's the kind of company that Kevin keeps, this kind of group of actors that he has. That's such a rare thing. What's it like to be a part of that?
You feel so lucky that somebody that talented believes in you, trusts you, and wants to be a part of, you know, your family, and wants to have you around as your company. And it's so nice because Kevin is really just one of the best people I've ever met, and so incredibly generous and talented. And his family too are just like, his wife and his daughter and his wife's parents are just the sweetest people on earth, and I only want everything good to happen to this family.
Yeah.
And I wish, like, if I had a choice to only work with my friends, I would. I would love to only work with my friends, because this job is hard, guys. Like, it's really hard. And you have to deal with certain egos. And sometimes you go into a movie set or a TV show, and you're like, guys, we're making a movie or we're making a TV show. Can we just take it easy? This isn't rocket science here, or it shouldn't be the most stressful thing on earth. It should be enjoyable. Yeah. And in Kevin's set, it is the most enjoyable experience you could ever have. In fact, I don't remember one time him ever saying like action or like, okay, settle down, like right before every director calls me. He's like, okay, guys, have fun.
Wow.
I'm glad to hear that.
It's so nice. It's so nice to have that freedom as an actor to be able to just like say that, and to give permission to your actors to have fun. And I feel like in every scene, if you're not having fun, then nothing magical is going to come out of it. If you're stressed out, if you're tense about things, it just doesn't flow as well.
Now you've been a part of several genres, from comedy to horror to drama to Disney animation. Like, what would your dream role look like?
I would love to be in like a very violent Tarantino movie. Very violent. Cool. The more violent, the more fun, I think. More blood and guts and like that sort of thing. Because I think he really does a beautiful, dramatic, but also action kind of a violent movie. It has every color you can ask for from an actor. So it's like, that would be dreamy.
Do you are you a fan of like the gory? What is gory for you? Like, what is your like line of, I love this? I mean, do you go full on gore, or are you like maybe a little bit too gory?
I have this weird thing when the gore is supposed to punctuate a scene, like in the Joker, when he kills that guy in front of the other guy, and he's like, he just finished brutally murdering him, and he's like, don't worry, man, I'm not gonna kill you. Like, and they're both covered in blood. That to me is hysterical. I rack up, and I feel weird because I'm one of the few people laughing at that scene. But that's the kind of thing I enjoy. It when it punctuates the scenes. And there's this great Argentinian film, and it's called Wild Tales. I don't know if you guys saw it.
I haven't seen it, but
I don't think I know that one.
It's like a series of little short stories. That's like one of the funniest things to me, because it's so violent, and it tries to show you how we as humans at the end of the day, we're very primitive and animalistic, and it tells you in these little vignettes. And in one of the vignettes, there's this incredibly violent and horrific fight between two people. Like, you really do not expect where this fight goes, but it is the most hysterical thing I have ever seen, because we are so stupid at the end of the day.
Oh, yeah. And well, it's gotten worse, too. I mean, now we're getting the, I want to speak to your manager, pulling out the phones, screaming about whatever, everything.
Oh my God, did you see that with the Karens? That the Karens, they put the zombie voice on them?
Yeah!
Perfect!
It matched up so nicely. It's horrific.
They were living in the zombie Karen age.
Were you much into horror movies growing up?
Okay, so my father decided it was a great idea to play every horror movie. When I say every, I saw from Chucky to The Exorcist.
Nice.
Poltergeist. When I was 2, 3, 4, 5. So very formative freaking years.
Wow.
So, I was scared of all my dolls. I was scared of the dark. I was scared of everything. And his whole, like, my whole childhood of how I remember my father is him in some sort of mask scaring me. Either if I was taking a bath or when I was, like doing my homework, it was always him scaring me. So I have a thing like that. I can't watch clowns. So I have not seen the remake of it. I hear it's very good.
Oh, yeah.
But the original very much scarred me. Today, if I see a clown, I cross the street. Or like if I see them in a party, like I gotta remove myself. They're hiding behind so much confusing makeup that you do not know the intention that they have. They have the sad face and then they look at you with these eyes. I just can't. I was on set, and of course, I don't know why I mentioned it to one of my directors, and
oh, no.
I was in a very tense scene, and he put his assistant right behind me in a clown outfit when there's fog and I'm like super tense scene, like,
oh no,
and I see the clown behind the fog and they caught it on camera. I just swear to goodness. And of course, like, the executive producer's Kevin Williamson, so like he's like obsessed with getting the actresses to get scared, and boy did they scare me. I almost peed myself. Like, not fun. But for the genre's sake, like, I try to I love spooky. I love more so like spooky movies. But I do love a good horror. Like, who are we kidding? Like, I enjoy it so much. As long as it has a good ending at the end. Like, if it has a good ending, if I leave satisfied, my soul is satisfied, then I'll be okay. Otherwise I'll be traumatized for like a month.
Well, I just had this, like, when you're talking about clowns, because clowns are terrifying. Let's be honest. They're just terrifying. They're just scary. And I mean, remember a few years back, like, everyone, my God!
That was so messed up.
There was one of those in my hometown.
What?
One of those happened back, I'm from Maine originally, and like a bunch of people from my high school were posting pictures like, did you guys just see this? I'm like,
stop. Oh my God.
I was out here, thankfully.
Like, please, look at my goose.
I'm so sorry.
I can't. If I would have seen that in person, like, because those in particular, they looked like they were up to something no good.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So good.
I would have lost my mind.
One of them actually, like, there may have been more, but the one came to someone's door and it was just like looking in the door, like the people. I'm just like, this is horrifying. I'm like, I'm not as scared as you are of clowns. They bother me. They're creepy. But like, even that, I'm just like, okay, this is horrifying.
I remember that Halloween, I did not go out. Like, I knew that it was just going to be It City.
Sorry.
No. I knew. I could probably do the movie, like, I could probably act in it, but I can't watch it.
Fair enough.
Jen, you and I have talked a lot about, like, you take a lot of chances, and you just took a lot of chances with Centigrade. This is a really risky role, and I know we talked pretty in depth about it, but he just watched it today. Ryan did.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
Your performance was so good in that, seriously.
What is it about the push, the drive to push yourself and to make it a little harder on yourself? Because a lot of people don't want to do that. They'd rather go, I'll just choose easier roles. And I can. Why the push? Why do you need to push yourself?
Yes, I love to push myself.
You do?
I do.
Clearly.
I'm not given those opportunities gratuitously. So I feel like more mainstream actresses are considered for those kind of roles. I don't think they're like, let's think what Latina could do this. Like they don't think about me in that way. So I try to win and chase those roles because I know that once I do them, then people will start considering me and other Latinx actresses for these types of roles. And the more that I do the breaking of the ice and that mold that they have us for, the better it is for us. But more so than it's like the calling for all of us, it's when I don't connect to a material, and it happens a lot, it's very hard for me to fake acting. I really have to connect to what I'm reading and say, okay, I can do something specific with this. When it's exposition stuff and when it's, getting information out for the audience, and I know the character doesn't serve much of a purpose other than to give information, when it's a very one-note character, it's very hard for me to go out for those kind of things. So I have to push myself. Unfortunately, I have to push myself a lot more because, like I said, Latin actresses aren't considered for more three-dimensional characters or characters with more of a backstory or that are supporting the story. So for me, it's I do have to do a little bit more of the less challenging stuff because you get hired more and people see you, and even if it's in more popcorny movies and stuff, but I like to stay true to who I am. And who I am is that I really like to challenge myself and grow, because if I'm not growing as an actor, then why am I acting? You never stop growing, and you can't get the best. Like, you can never top yourself. You could always, there's always space for you to go somewhere. And I really do feel that with age and time, I get better because I take those risks and I'm scared out of my mind. Yeah. And fear for me is something that really drives me. I love being scared when I go to work. If I'm not scared, then something good isn't going to come out. If I'm comfortable,
for sure.
Boring.
I mean, and you really pushed yourself for this role. I mean, there's so many different emotions, and your role in Centigrade is so intense. I mean, for those who are watching who have not seen this yet, first of all, you should. But her character is trapped in a car, snowed in Norway with her husband, and they go through so many different emotions and situations. Like, how do you prepare for that kind of role?
Well, I really couldn't prepare. We had the basic premise of the movie. Our scenes would change on the daily, so something like Tusk really prepares you to like go with the flow and go with your instincts. Right before I started shooting, I ate lots of carbs and lots of pizza and lots of pasta right before doing that. And then as soon as I started day one in the car, I was in a diet, a very strict diet, in a freezer. So I immediately, I started getting the hunger pangs, all the real things that happens when you start dieting very drastically. Just like the on-edgeness just came out naturally. But since the scenes change daily and we shot it in chronological order, we were able to gauge the temperatures of the fights as we went. Because no two fights should be alike. And these characters were stuck in this car for 27 days. So it's not like they got out of the car and, walked around and were able to think about their fights. They were sitting in their fights for 27 days. So I had no idea what was coming out, but I know that whatever was happening in Naomi, she was going from being such a brainy, writer to being more primal and being just on edge and instinctual as a woman. It was happening naturally, and you really, I mean, I guess it helped the surroundings of it, but you can't really prepare your mind for that kind of a thing. The back pain that I got from that movie, the amount of layers that I had to put on, so I had very little mobility, and the diet, I dropped a lot of weight in a very short amount of time. So my clothes were just falling off of me. The weakness that comes with that. I don't know if you guys have seen this show called Alone. Have you seen Alone?
I've heard of it. I haven't seen it. No.
It's on the History Channel, and it's a survival show. And they drop these people, 10 different people, on close to the Arctic, and they leave them with, I think, one thing that they could bring from society, and cameras, and they have to shoot themselves in the wilderness, and they have to make it past a certain amount of time, or they have to be the last ones surviving. So they have to hunt, build their structures, they have to figure out all sorts of things. But the crazy thing of seeing them go through that is the feeling of like how slow everything goes. And that's how I felt in Centigrade. And that's because of like lack of calories and stuff. Your body starts feeding off of what you got. So it's fascinating, like when you do a role like that, what your body just brings to the performance. Life imitates art imitates life.
And I could tell that you guys did your research on these sort of situations too. Like I just finished reading a book about the Donner Party, real light reading, but they talk about how a lot of them had this hysteria where they felt like they were burning up even though they were freezing. And your character actually goes through that in the movie, and that was a moment that really struck me. I was like, okay, they know what they're talking about.
Oh yeah, the hypothermia. Specifically, what I kept on trying to work on was the way that she couldn't even talk anymore. Her tongue stopped doing the roles. So when she was speaking, it was like she couldn't even speak. And the burning up sensation is one of the first things that happen, other than like your fingers start to cramp up and you can't, your dexterity goes, is the heat that your body produces. It's like, I believe it's the one sensation that happens right before you go into hypothermia. Your body goes, okay, this is all we got. We're going to send you all the gas. So it sends all the gas and you start burning up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And then the idea of adding the pregnancy, and that's just, oh my God.
And the placenta, guys, the placenta. When I was like, we're doing an eating of the placenta scene? Do we really need to go there? And he's like, yeah, we've never seen that in the movie. I was like, okay, I'm going to be the one to eat the placenta in the movie.
Fair enough.
What did you actually eat? What was it?
I cut up this gummy, bloody placenta thing that they got, and then I cut off a piece of like a fruit roll-up and ate it.
Wow.
I was eating it and I had the smell of that fake blood, and that's what gave me that.
Wow.
Does not sound pleasant.
No, it does not.
And with these kind of movies, like as an audience, we always find ourselves watching them going like, oh, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? And that's easy for us as an audience. But I mean, you personally, if you found yourself in that situation, how do you think you would handle it?
Oh, 100% I would have been out of the car by the first 10 minutes of the movie. I could not wrap my head around that. I was like, a Latina woman would not deal or be in a fight with her husband. She'd be long gone. She'd be long gone. But they explained to me, they were like, Jen, this isn't ordinary ice. Like, this is like very, very thick sheets of solid ice. So it's not like it's powder that you could just go through. It's like very hard glass, and for inches and inches. And once I went to Norway, that's when I realized, when I shot the end of the movie and I saw, I was like, oh damn, this is ice. This is real ice.
Yeah.
I had never seen that amount of ice and snow before. And of course, like my friends, they asked me like, why would she go on a trip if she's 8 months pregnant? And I'm like, guys, it's because they were saving their marriage, and they were saving their marriage. This trip was saving their marriage, and this was the last trip they could take before the baby comes. And this was like, to see if things are there in the same page before they go. And she had like, the one thing that kept her an individual was her book. So she had to take this trip because life was about to change. And they were like, oh, they should have put that in the movie. I'm like, yeah, they probably should have. And then they were like, well, what were those pills? And I was like, she had anxiety, guys. It wasn't like she was taking back medication. She was taking anxiety pills. They're like, oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. And I'm like, the scene where she doesn't have air, huh?
Yeah, no, I got it.
But it's fun. I mean, I have a set of critics that I call the Coven. That's the name of their group chat. So the Coven has their own review system, but they all loved what I did. So as long as they like that, then that's fine.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
It must be cool to finally like get a really this is your movie. This is yours. And there's no, it's basically you and Vinny, and it really is, you are the central character here. How hard did you fight for this role?
Oh my gosh, I fought so hard. And Brendan wasn't convinced with me when our first meeting. I know that from afterwards of talking to him afterwards. And I was like, it's like in a relationship, you want the guy to like be more into you than him. So I wanted him to be like, I'm so lucky to have you, but it wasn't happening. And I was like, damn it, man, I gotta prove it. I gotta prove that I'm worth this job. And after the first couple days, he was like, holy shit, I was wrong. And I was like, yeah, you were, buddy.
Yes, yeah.
And there's nothing better than I told you so, Isn't it always good when you're like, and the I told you so, sometimes you can't say it, but you think it, and it feels good. And never not know, Not know to I do.
Well, it always surprises me when you hear actors, especially American actors, who are kind of fearful of, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that. I can't. Is there things that you will stop you, like, I won't do this or I won't do that? What is your line?
Oh my goodness. At first it was very much nudity, because that was like everyone and their mothers would throw me an offer for me to get nude in somewhere. Yeah. And I was like, of course they want me to get nude. Like that was where I was like, well, guess what? I'm not going to do it. I'm going to do everything but that. And that was like where I drew my line. And now in my 30s, I'm like, maybe I'll do it. But I'll do it when I'm on my terms, like on things that I feel good about, not because, no matter what they throw at you. I don't care about the rest of it, you know, like how much money you'll get. I do it because I love it. And because the character requires it. I'm a a true actor. I love it. I love it for what it is. I don't love the business side of it as much. I should, but I don't love the business side of it as much.
Well, see, I've always respected that about you in all seriousness, because when you did Man on a Ledge, they could have easily thrown you a nude scene. They could have easily, exploited your character a little bit more, but you kind of don't go for that. Even when you do these little smaller films, whether you're playing a cop or whatever, I don't get the feeling that you put up with that shit, to be honest.
I really don't. I don't like for people to dictate how you're supposed to do things, or I've always kind of found my own way, and it could have hurt my career, but at least I could sleep at night, Sure. At least I have my dignity with me, because I don't follow what the suits say. I follow what my heart says, and that's I can rest easy that way.
Yeah, that's something special. I think that's a rare thing. I've always sensed that about you too. It's just it's a hard business to be in, because you deal with a lot of people who seem to know stuff and they don't really know anything, and they're you're the ones up there, you're the ones taking the risk. Meanwhile, they're counting the bucks.
Always the case. There's too many cooks in the kitchen, and it's just like, if you know how to do it, then you should give it a try, But yeah. I really feel that way. And with for instance, with Kevin, one of the greatest things that I remember happening to me was in that scene with Justin and Tusk. It was written, like I was in my underwear or whatever, and I had never once gotten this sort of call. He left me a voicemail saying, "Hey man, so I got that text from you of like what you're gonna wear in that scene. Look man, I don't need you to show anything. Like, I think it's sexier when I see my wife in my hockey jersey. So like, you wear whatever you want to wear, and if you want to wear a hockey jersey, cool. If you feel good however you want." And I was like, this guy deserves a bra. I'm gonna wear a bra. So I mean, just because he was so cool about it and he didn't want me to feel uncomfortable. He was hiring me for me. So wow. It's a good feeling.
See, it's good to hear, because I feel like Kevin Smith falls under this because he spent time in front of the camera, obviously. I feel like every director, speaking as I direct stuff myself, and I feel like every director should spend some time in front of the camera and experience that's like before working with actors, because it completely changes your perspective.
It really does. I really encourage that to up-and-coming directors who are listening to us. Like, take some acting classes, go on the stage, feel that fear that actors feel every time right before doing a scene. And then there's a different sort of empathy and relatability that you can have before you start directing, because like some directors, they just like expect for you to figure out what they're saying with their 3 words, and you're like, okay, I think I understand what you mean, but I'm gonna give you several options, because truly I don't. But the more acting classes directors take, the better communication and language actor director can develop, and it's great when you have an actor's director. There's nothing better. There really is nothing better.
Absolutely.
Now, do you ever want to direct? Is that something that you think about doing?
Oh gosh.
Putting you on the spot.
I never thought about that, but I never say no to that. I love actors. I love watching scenes. I just love it. So I maybe, if I felt like I had the right mentor and introduction to that, maybe.
Let's call Kevin Smith. Let's get him on this.
Yeah, how do we add call on here?
you had an experience too with Blumhouse. Now, I have not seen this film. I'm embarrassed to say I have not seen this film. How did you get involved with that? What was that experience like?
Oh my gosh, that was a crazy experience. I mean, Blumhouse, and it was an incredible script. We had, when I read the script, I was like, oh, I love this. This is up my alley, because you really didn't know if it was like a psychological thriller, I mean, it is a psychological thriller, but you didn't know what was real, what wasn't in the film. And we really played towards that. And Delirium, we shot, I believe, in 21 days. And,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. And we overlapped. I was overlapping shooting with Johnny in Tusk the first week of that Delirium week. So like my whole, I was like, what the heck is happening? I'm in 2 different movies right now. This is surreal. And it was like I'm playing this rocker chick, kind of like emo, kind of that's why I went for it, because no one would expect an emo Latina chick, and I was like, I want that role.
That's awesome. I love that.
Very cool.
Yeah. So that was like, that's why I was like, I gotta have that. And that it was a lot of fun. When I finished shooting that movie, I still had no idea if I was real or if I was not real.
Oh.
So once you see it, you could tell me if she was real or she wasn't.
I'll watch it this week. Yeah, I'll watch it this week.
Because that's how we played it. I have no idea if I was a real person or not.
I think that's the fun thing about horror, is you get the chance to kind of just, you can take on serious subject matters, but you also can kind of play in that, and it's I guess an elevated sense of reality.
Why do we love horror so much? Like, why do we, as audience members, love to watch horror? What's the psychology behind it?
See, my theory on that has always been it's a safe way to release this particular blend of adrenaline you only get in dangerous situations. And it kind of purges your system of that, and you walk out feeling a bit of a glow, like, okay, I experienced something, but it's in a safe space. I don't need to go out and, get lost in the desert or get chased by someone through the woods. I have experienced it through cinema.
No, so you feel like we as humans were kind of like protected, and we need to feel that dangerous adrenaline.
I think so. I think it's a release, yeah.
It's like being on a roller coaster. You get on the roller coaster, you know you're going to go fast, you know you're going to be terrified, you know you're probably going to be praying that, oh, please don't kill me on this thing. But you want to go because you got that rush. I mean, Jenny, I was like you. I started seeing horror movies when I was, and I think Ryan the same way, very young, way too young to see these movies. But just, I got to a point where I was like, well, fuck Disney. I'd rather see Halloween 2, Halloween 3. That's what I wanted to see. So, and I liked it because weirdly enough, and this always fascinates me about horror, especially because a lot of times people say, oh, horror is misogynistic or it's got these issues. But here's the thing. I remember seeing Jamie Lee Curtis and going, shit,
Curtis was a badass.
She was a badass. Yeah. Yes. And
always.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh my God, she was so good. But that's what I love. I mean, to me, I was watching horror movies thinking, yeah, these women kick ass. Amy Steele from Friday the 13th Part 2. I was like, I like these women, and they were smart, they were strong, and they fought back. And I always thought that was growing up for me. And then, of course, you have fun with the gore, you have fun with the fear, but it was always about these amazing characters.
And, we hear it sounds scary at our core. We're a horror show. And speaking of such things, Jimmy tells me that you have brought a scary story to share with us today.
I absolutely have.
There'll be food and drink and ghosts, and perhaps even a few murders. You're all invited.
I have a good scary story. Okay, so I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this island in Michigan called Mackinac Island. Mackinac is this old island that there are no cars. It's all horse and buggy. You have to get there by ferry. They shot this movie with Christopher Reeves and this British woman, the one that plays the mom.
Jane Seymour?
Jane Seymour.
Oh,
Somewhere in Time.
Somewhere in Time.
Gotcha, yes.
Well done.
Okay, they shot that movie there because it was like they did not need to do any sort of backdrop. It was beautiful. When I went there, everything was exactly the way as it was established, and it's the most beautiful, quaint, just so special little town. When I first got there, I was like, damn, this is so old. It's beautiful. I've never seen anything like that in the States other than like St. Augustine, but St. Augustine still has like the touristy bars with like the St. Augustine, get drunk and get your tornado. And it's like, it's not the same thing. So in Mackinac, I was like, you know, all the horses and whatnot, and everything has those like gas light bulbs, and one of the, I believe, the oldest hotel in all of the United States is there. And we were staying at this place called Mission Point. And I was there with my boyfriend at the time. And we were there with his family as well. And it was the first trip that we took together as like me, the family. So it was like, you know, lots of stress and stuff because, you know, you want the parents to like you and all that stuff. We go into this hotel in Mission Point is what I believe it was called. And it was a college, the college of the town at the time. So it was very, very old. So we were staying in like dorm rooms. That's what it was. When they introduced us to the room, they were like, this is the nicest room in this quarter. You know, feel free, the breakfast is here, da-da-da. And when I go into the room, I feel the energy. Like I was like, I feel something heavy in here. Wow. But it's beautiful. I can't deny that. So I'm not going to say anything. So we go out to dinner. We come back. We go to fall asleep. He falls asleep immediately, like snores. And it's taken me a little bit of a beat to fall asleep, but I eventually do. And I feel something wake me up. And I wake up and I feel like there's someone in here. I felt like somebody was in the room with me. Ooh. Like, so I went to the bathroom. I see footsteps right in front of my bathroom door. And I was like, that's not him. He didn't wake up. Is it him? I was like, Daniel? And he's like, he didn't say anything. He's just dead asleep. So I was like, this is nothing. Oh my God. Okay. I'm out. I'm just gonna jump back in bed. I jump back in bed. And I'm like, is there something in here or not? So I pull down my covers. I see a shadow of a man. With like a 3-piece suit, slicked back hair. And I could see him clear as day. Yeah. And I was like, I'm going crazy in freaking Mackinac. And I can't say anything to my boyfriend because I'm with his parents. He's gonna think I'm nuts. So I didn't say anything, and I covered my head. I'm like, this is your mind playing tricks on you, clearly. I covered my head and I did not wake up. I just did not poke my head out of there. He wakes me up. He pulls the covers down. He's like, hey, we're going to breakfast. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, we got to get ready. My parents are ready. I'm like, okay, give me a second. We go to breakfast, and the energy has shifted in breakfast. Like, they know something's up, but I'm not saying anything. And Daniel's looking at me like something's definitely wrong with her. I don't know what is wrong with her, but I'm not going to pick a fight with her. He knows better. We go back to the room, and I'm like holding on, and I'm like, do I tell him? Do I not tell him? I have to tell him. And I was like, Daniel, I saw a freaking ghost. I'm 100% I saw a ghost. He looked like this. He looked like he was disturbed. He was disturbed. He had disturbed energy. He was pacing in front of the bathroom, and he was like, okay. And I was like, I'm not kidding you. I am not lying to you. And if you want to think I'm crazy, I'm crazy. Okay? I don't care. But I'm not staying here tonight. I'm not staying here another night. So what does he do? He Googles Mission Point ghost. And what comes up? Harvey comes up. And Harvey has a whole episode, not on Ghost Adventures, but the other show, Ghost Travels.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. There's a few.
Yeah.
So the episode of that show, where is it shot? In our room. The room number is shot in our room. And there were several interviews during that show of women saying he likes to mess with women, he likes to mess with couples, he likes to make himself known. And then I see Daniel's face change, like, oh. And there's just threads on threads on threads on this Harvey character. And they, people described him in the same way, that he was pacing. And the fact is that Harvey committed suicide because his girlfriend that he proposed to said no to him.
Oh.
So that was his dorm room. That's where he studied. So we went to the lobby, and I had to tell his parents. I was like, "Look, there's a ghost. I'm sorry. I know you might think I'm crazy. You're just getting to know me, but there's a ghost in that room. I think we should all leave this. We should all leave the side of the hotel. Go somewhere else. Go to another hotel." And they were like, "Oh no, it's fine. We're fine." Like, cause like little weird things happened. That right after I went to the breakfast, I went back to the room by myself to get some fresh air. I left my key under his parents' door, and they didn't get the key. The key was misplaced, and I was like, I left the key under the door. Like, I don't know what to tell you. So weird stuff didn't add up. The hotel lobby was like, yeah, we should have disclosed about Harvey. We get complaints about him all the time. And Daniel's like, yeah, I think you're supposed to tell people when you're paying money that there's a ghost. Like, it's something you definitely need to say. So they move us to a different hotel room. They move us to a different room in the same hotel. Daniel was by then a believer at that point. Like, I had someone on my side, and he was like, dude, we're leaving here tomorrow. Let's just make it through another night. And, I'll stay awake. You can fall asleep. I know you didn't sleep last night. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I doubted you. And I was like, damn right. I was scared. I was like, I told you. I love it. I told you. So I started to fall asleep, and bats started flying into the hotel windows. Just bats. Bah!
What?
What the hell is going on? And I was like, I don't know, man. This shit's fucked up, man. Like I can't wait till the morning. I want pancakes, and we're out. He's like, you know what? Let's just stay up, both of us. So we don't know at this point whether the hotel was pranking us or whether they had heard that we had a visitation from Harvey. But like, we had like a ring, like, and you'd put the phone, and there was no dial tone. So it was just the phone ringing. And several times in a different room that happened. Then we'd both be in bed, and we'd see the doorknob start to twitch on it. We would watch the door twitch, and we recorded it. We recorded this shit. He made like a video out of our horror story with the bats and with the phone ringing and with the doorknob of all this shit going down. And the whole night, I I was sweating and sweating. I didn't even take a shower. I didn't do any, I just left. I left in as fast as I could. We packed everything like that night. We were ready to go as soon as like there was light out. But what we found out was that it was an Indian burial ground in that whole section of that college. So it was very much haunted and very much disturbed.
Wow.
And I would not go back even if you paid me millions of dollars. The fear that I felt that night is, I'm sure Harvey's waiting for me to come back.
Oh my God.
Oof.
It was like the scariest freaking thing I've ever seen and experienced. And I don't wish it upon anybody, but I guess that's the most real life horror I've ever felt.